Alright, so as you saw in my review for The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, there's one important element to this movie that everyone has been talking about, that's been getting a lot of buzz. This is the first Hollywood film to be shot at 48 frames per second. Now, for those of you who don't know, the regular frame rate for a film is 24 frames per second. You see that in regular movies. 48 frames is a bit higher frame rate that makes things look more realistic, gives it more fluent motion than 24 frames per second would do. Now, there was a preview for this new technology at Las Vegas, I think this year or last year, but whatever the case, it wasn't received all that well. I have been anxious to figure out how this is going to look in a 2-hour and 40-minute movie, because, a little background, I am a big theme park enthusiast. If you cannot tell by my channel already, because a lot of my videos before I started reviewing movies were of theme park stuff. And so for a while, I've been used to a high frame rate in a lot of theme park attractions, such as Transformers The Ride, Star Tours The Adventures Continue, and most importantly in this conversation, King Kong 360 3D, because that was made by Peter Jackson, who directed The Hobbit. Now, one really quick thing is, I'm wondering if Peter Jackson, after King Kong 360 3D, I wonder if that was what motivated him to use 48 frames per second on The Hobbit. But, I mean, that's just probably a big speculation. But I can't help but feel that. But anyway, higher frame rate seems to work really well for theme park attractions, so I was wondering if it would work for a Hollywood motion picture. And, well, the big advantage that King Kong 360 3D had was because it's all CG, it looks incredible. I mean, Kong looks real, the V-Rex, and all the other effects in that thing look real. That was like probably a minute and a half or 3 minutes long. How does it hold up for a 2-hour and 40-minute movie? Well, in terms of CG, it does. And it brings out a lot of detail and makes the CG blend well with the actors, as if there is no CG, as if the orcs, the trolls, and Gollum are really there. But here's where we get into a problem. Sometimes it can be a little cheesy because it gets rid of the 48 frames per second gets rid of a lot of blurriness in like fast-paced action such that 24 frames seems to show. By doing that, it makes the action look more crisp, but it can also make it look fake at times. Plus, another big disadvantage that a Hollywood film has when having a higher frame rate is that in a motion simulator ride, you are moving around in your seat. Like Star Tours, you're basically moving around in a pod in the Starspeeder. King Kong 360 3D, the tram is on a moving platform, so that sync with the motions of what Kong and the V-Rexes are doing. In Transformers, you're on a track and the vehicle is rocking back and forth to the movement of the 3D film also, so basically what I'm trying to say, it puts you right in the middle of the action. For The Hobbit, because you're sitting in the theater, it's that you sit still, so you don't really feel that much you're in the action that much. Sure, it looks good, but I mean, you don't feel like you're really there like you do for a lot of attractions, and it kind of does look like reality TV. I mean, probably the first 30 minutes of this movie, I was like, I might be used to it for theme park rides, but not so much for a film. But, I mean, after a while, I kind of got used to it. I mean, basically, the good part, for those of you who don't want to see it at 48 frames per second, it's an optional thing. I mean, I really was curious to see it at it, but you're not forced into seeing it at 48 frames per second. You still see it at 24 frames. One problem I will have is I wish they didn't have I wish they had a 2D version of the 48 frames per second cut, because while 48 frames per second makes the 3D stick out like atmospheric 3D like Avatar did, I wish there was an option to see it in 2D, because after a while, I mean, this is a problem with 3D in general. It started to strain my eyes, but I mean, that's just me. My final words would be, I don't want this technology to be used in every movie. I don't want to see a romantic comedy at 48 frames per second. I don't want to see an indie film at 48 frames per second. I think this format should stay to sort of event films, like, say, I don't know, Avatar 2, which I heard that James Cameron wants to shoot at not 48 frames per second, but 60, which, oh boy. I mean, that's basically all I have to say about 48 frames per second used in The Hobbit. I liked it. It's not for everybody, so I would say for that, take your chances, but Hobbit's still a good movie. I feel that 40 frames per second should still be used in theme park rides and, like I said, event films. Like, I mean, I probably wouldn't mind seeing the next Avengers film in that format. That's about it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.